The Rolling Stones, Beggars Banquet, right now on States and Kingdoms. Welcome back to States and Kingdoms. Today we're talking about Beggars Banquet in our ongoing series of the Rolling Stones in mono box set. Was this the 7th video?
I have no idea.
I think so. It was their 7th album.
Yes.
There you go.
You know, I was thinking before that we did skip Flower and a live album, and
we should go back and we'll go back and do them.
I was just doing the studio albums because you can't do anything on this channel in any logical order.
Well, we're trying.
It's against the rules.
Yeah, this album is really, really good.
That did not sound sincere at all.
No, I'm serious. Yeah. I really like this. Mm-hmm. I really like this. So, I mean...
You hate it.
No, I really like it.
I was looking forward to this, though, Beggars Banquet. I mean, I know this album pretty well, and I hadn't listened to it in mono. And I was looking forward to it because... mostly because the falsetto background vocals just get a little old on
Sympathy for the
Devil, and I was really looking forward to that being more in the background. It's more in the background, and I'm satisfied.
It really is. It's actually, yeah. You know, I know that song from the radio, mostly. I mean, obviously everyone knows that song. And listening to it in mono, not only do the vocal, that backing hoo-hoo sound, it's kept in check. I mean, really, it doesn't come in until like halfway through the song,
right?
And then it kind of ramps up to one, and then it like gets like subsumed back into the song. Like on the radio, this song felt really, really long.
If it actually, it's amazing what a difference that makes.
And it doesn't anymore. Because it's compact.
The normal version, the stereo version that
6 minutes, but
here, it winds up feeling too one note. Like it doesn't have the dynamics of this.
And it actually does.
Yeah, and just because of that staying the same that whole time.
Yeah.
You do. Yeah, I've always gotten a little tired of it. It's it's a great song, and it's always like okay.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, and you really listening to it like this, you really get a chance to focus on all the different parts and the overlapping and the interweaving of everything is part of the fun of it.
Yeah. It is. It's the best version.
I mean, the rhythm is awesome. Of course, you've got all that great percussive stuff happening, and just really, really, really extra impressive. And I have a new respect for this song now.
Well, it is amazing what just well, you consider a small change. It's actually a major change, but I mean, you could say a small change can make to the whole song. I mean, I really would always want to hear it this way. We mentioned last time that Beck, we were talking about how influential.
So listening to
the Stones were on certain musicians.
Listening to some of these more recent albums of the Stones, Beck keeps coming up for me.
It's amazing how much he was influenced by these.
I knew that it was there. Obviously, I knew it was there, but I didn't realize to what extent he was actually pulling from just the Rolling Stones.
Well, it's weird. I'm not sure why. I don't know. I guess doing these videos and listening to these things just a little bit more critically.
Yeah.
And we knew that Beck was influenced by the Stones. That's pretty clear. But this whole album might as well be a Beck album.
Yeah.
And I hadn't thought that before.
Yeah, it's you can't even choose. It's all over, but specifically Moments on Sea Change. Mm-hmm. And even Modern Guilt, and I mean, it's like, it's quite
I don't want to talk,
astounding.
I mean, I don't want to talk about Beck too much, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, since we both admire Beck, we'll talk about his records, separately, and then we can accuse him of plagiarism there.
Yeah.
But
But that in a way, just really fast. That
I'm
brings.
Kidding, of course.
No, I know. We know. That brings a level of familiarity to the sound, which before, and I'm embarrassed to admit this, before I would have said, I'm not crazy about the Rolling Stones sound, that bluesy country rootsy sound.
But then you'd enjoy it when Beck does it.
But then I liked it when Beck did it, and now listening to these, like you said, more critically, a little more in depth, I realize that I actually do like this.
There are more. Honestly, if you listen to any, I don't know, whether it's the White Stripes or just Jack White, or the Black Keys, which is basically the inverted white stripes.
Yes.
You know, whatever it is, this album looms quite large.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, it's something it's like I've always been aware of, but you know, we haven't really talked about it a lot.
Yeah.
It's a I always thought of it as being, this is probably their best album. It probably is, really. I think, I mean, there's just nothing wrong with this. It's original and interesting. The whole approach on this album is really, really interesting. You know, being kind of a stripped down, you know, way more, just a more raw recording.
Yeah. They're actually playing like this kind of rootsy music.
And yet it's also, again, a synthesis. I mean, you know, which they've been working on.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, not like, I'm sure they didn't quite, you know, they've been...
like they were scientists. Like
yes, I know. That's what they've been working toward, whatever.
Photosynthesis.
For several albums. I mean, at least 3.
Or 1.
4. Or once even. The you know, the songs that are the country songs, you call them country songs, but you can't quite, you can say this is like a blues, you know, this is a country song.
This is a blues riff and B. Watch me for the changes.
You know, but it's all in a little, it's all in a stew that you can't really separate anymore. You know, we've said before, I really admire Mick Jagger. His development as a singer is almost like a de-development as a singer in some ways. You know, he took away any kind of affectations that there may have been, and by this time, it's a very raw kind of a voice that you hear. You know, there's not a lot of vibrato. There's not a lot of prettiness. There's really someone, you know, singing a kind of high lonesome sound, and you know, in a very like country blues, you know, and
it's really quite versatile, his voice, like what he's able to do. He's like growling and it's this low, like kind of like raspy thing, and then on some songs it's like this forceful, like almost like screaming thing, and then he can do, you know, a nice soft song too. I mean, you know, again, like I never really thought of Mick Jagger as being the most dynamic singer before, but he really is
I wonder about
really effective. And
I always wonder about like singers that can act. You know, I you know, and Mick Jagger. You know, obviously Roger Daltrey. You know, because we've talked about this. You know, about whether it's like obviously Bing Crosby or Frank Sinatra or Dean Martin. You know, these singers who were
great actors.
I mean, you know, great actors. Gordon McRae,
Madonna.
Another one. You know, you had to say that just to throw me off. But their ability to put such kind of emotional subtleties, nuances into songs, you know, is basically a kind of acting. You know, I mean, I feel listening to this album, even though, you know, there's not maybe an enormous amount of emoting or whatever, you get a humor, you get a desperation, you get and you know, it's really quite
it's almost
subtle.
like different characters. He's got different facets.
Not to the extent of like Ray Davies, where he's actually got different voices for like characters, you know, in songs. But
right, not to that. Yeah,
there is a subtlety to it, but he's able to put across a lot with kind of a little.
Yeah.
I'm really on this album. His vocal performance is kind of stunning, you know, and I think you could miss it, but I think he's really, really amazing on this album.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Also, I mean, so's Keith.
Yeah, really nice guitar work on like every song.
Yeah, the whole sound of this album.
That slidey guitar,
just a little bit lo-fi. Little bit, you know, just quite different from really anything else that was at least at this level, certainly different.
I was really noticing Charlie Watts on this album more than on the previous albums. Like the drumming just felt like really like well placed, you know, like where it's like where it's like really pounding, like really sounded great. Really fit really good.
Yeah, I've you mentioned that, I think, I mean, Charlie Watts, I guess, I notice, I've noticed, the drumming is always, really solid and everything, but, in a way, it's like if you don't notice it, it's,
right.
it's like a good
probably
thing.
It's doing fine. But yeah, there's something about a lot of these songs that where the percussion just had like a little bit more of a starring role for me. It was a little bit more prominent, especially just like some interesting rhythms and
there's a lot going on this album.
They're
in its way,
they're pretty deeply layered.
Yeah, and that's another thing with Brian Jones still being around. You do get that extra kind of layer to some of the songs, and of course the slide playing.
On no expectations.
Yeah, which is beautiful, but.
Otherwise, he's just in the background with like a kazoo.
Well, like you do just get that, like even on Street Fighting Man, you have the sitar and the
that is, I think that is such a great example of a well placed, like kind of out there musical element. It's so perfect.
Very
on
subtle
that song.
though. Again, they had done before.
It comes up in the mix in different places and goes back down, and everything kind of takes its turn in that song.
It just sounds like a wall of sound behind the song though, and at some points. And actually, the subtle use of those things is actually like a Rolling Stone staple.
Yeah, even in Street Fighter Man, like the piano, like everything like has its place, has its moment.
This album, I've always been a big Velvet Underground fan, and and it's kind of interesting, who was influenced by whom. Although I think you can hear Lou Reed being influenced by the Stones, early on, to I guess pursue a certain direction, and I definitely hear Loaded being influenced by this and probably Let It Bleed as well.
Mm-hmm.
But if the Rolling Stones were influenced by the Velvet Underground, it's possible. The Factory was a well-known place.
Right.
Andy Warhol was certainly famous enough, and everyone visited him.
For 15 minutes.
But it's an interesting thing. I don't. That's really all I'll say about that.
Was it Stray Cat Blues that was mentioned?
Yeah, I saw that. You can kind of hear that, I guess, but I'm not sure if that's.
Yeah. Yeah. And even like the more like calm country type ditties like Prodigal Son or
Prodigal Son is really just straight country blues.
Yeah. Really well done. Just like exciting,
I think it's
like simple but also still like really vibrant.
I think all in all with the mix of styles, country, blues, everything that's on this album. Again, as we always kind of say, it's not like not different personae or anything like that. This is all being put forward as from one band, one singer, same person. He's not pretending to be anybody. They're just putting this forward like it's coming straight from them, and it's a direct, honest, incredibly sincere album.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and musically, it's awesome.
It's pretty awesome.
There's a lot more we can say about it, I know.
Yeah, I feel like mostly these videos about the Rolling Stones box set have been me apologizing a lot.
Nah.
I'm sorry, Mick. Sorry, Keith.
They don't care.
They do care. They will care.
Read on.
It's just been a lot of me, feeling guilty.
I'll stop.
About, not giving them more of a chance earlier on in my life.
They've been well compensated.
No, but I'm really happy to be listening to these. These are
because now you hate the Beatles. A lot of fun.
Well, what goes around comes around. Don't even. Do not.
Yeah.
Do not. Don't even think about it. Yeah. No. This is great. This is one of the I want to keep listening to this even more. More and more for the rest of my life.
Okay. Enough.
And I really like this cover better than the plain one.
Yeah, this just makes me think of the line from Withnail and I.
Thank you so much for watching our brief discussion of Beggars Banquet. Please let us know what you think of this in the comments. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to States and Kingdoms. We've got more videos coming out Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We'll see you next time.